Hi everyone, welcome to the SuperClashBros, a podcast where we take a deep dive into the horror stories of Reddit and discuss the things that truly go bump in the night. My name is Trey, and I will be your guide through the strange and unexplainable this evening. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Trey, and today I'm joined once again by my co-host Connor. And tonight Connor will be narrating our story. So go ahead, Connor, take it away.
All right, tonight's story comes from the subreddit Thetruthishere and is posted by user Throwaway8884204. The title of the story is Here's a Weird One. Anyone else hear little voices in their pillows at night as a kid? Long and short of it is when I was a wee little lad, I could literally hear something like tiny voices in my pillow at night. They sounded like elves or fairies or just very small little people having conversations. They were super high-pitched, like barely audible, but I could tell that whatever they were a tiny thing. I never could understand it. It was like a different language for sure, and I could just barely hear it. And I wouldn't be able to hear it all the time. But I remember, I told my second grade teacher about it, and she looked at me like I was crazy, and then I couldn't hear them after that. I could have been hallucinating, but I remember being awake hearing them, not drifting off or anything. I remember if I laid super still and calm, I could hear them better. But I was awake. I remember it. Anyone else?
That's kind of strange. I can't say that I've ever experienced something like that, or at least remembered it.
So I got to thinking about this one a few days ago, and I came up with a few possibilities, right? So I have noticed that when I'm laying on my side, laying on my ear, right, I can hear my heart beating in my ear. Like I can hear the bump, 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 right? So I've also noticed that if I lay on my back and I just kind of focus in, it's dead silent and I'm just focusing in, I can hear like very faint things. And sometimes occasionally I'll hear what sounds like voices, but it could just be your brain trying to make a connection where there isn't one. Like, oh, I heard something, I don't really understand it, I'm going to attribute it to voices, right? So those are all options. Also, the original poster does not say whether they live in a home, apartment, a duplex, or how close their home is to a busy street, another neighbor, etc. For all we know, they could be living in an apartment, hearing people talk in other apartments very faintly, and it would sound, probably like a fairy or something if somebody was having a conversation really far away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know for a fact that my ears are very perceptive of things like that. So I lived in a duplex that shared a wall, and I could hear every conversation that people were having because I just pick up that stuff.
Right.
And then the one final theory I had is like maybe they had like, it sounds gross, but like stuff built up in their ears, right? And occasionally, if you have stuff built up in your ears, you can kind of hear like a whooshing noise, right? You can hear weird stuff in your ears if you have like buildup or something else in there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of makes me wonder if like their child brain was just kind of running wild with any of these options.
I think they just have an overactive imagination.
Yeah,
is what I think it is. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like paranormal or like creepy about it. I think that they just, you know how kids are. Like kids have wild imaginations, and I think this is just something that like, their imagination like ran wild, and then they attributed it as like a memory, and now it's like something that they like recall on now like differently than what was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was reading through some of the comments as well, and they were suggesting that like, oh, if this person had like a metal crown or something on one of their teeth, or they had any sort of metal object near their bed, that it could be picking up like radio frequencies. Like, I guess that's been a thing that could happen. I don't know. That's a possibility too. I think the more likely scenario is that like they're picking up maybe the neighbors in the distance playing music, or people talking outside, or if they're in an apartment, a upstairs or downstairs neighbor doing something. I think that's the more likely scenario. But I thought it was a fascinating subject because I've never heard somebody say, "Oh, I hear little voices in my pillow at night." Right?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like I hesitate to say it, but I also question like mental illness at some point. Like, not saying that they have one, but like people with like DID or whatnot, like how they have like different personalities, and like they can pick up on like little conversations that they're having in their own head. I'm not saying this is the case here, but I'm saying that is also a possibility. Maybe like a very like mild form of it or something.
Yeah. It was interesting that they said after they told their teacher and their teacher looked at them funny, they couldn't hear them after that. So I'm thinking like, as a kid, you tend to do embarrassing things when your imagination runs wild. Like, you make up things, you play pretend, you do all this stuff, right? And then when you find out that like, oh, that's weird, or people think this is weird, you kind of shut off that part of you, like, maybe I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
And so maybe that was kind of like a subconscious, like, their imagination was running away with them when they found out, like, oh, it's weird when I talk about stuff like this. They're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to turn that part off for now.
I mean, it's like, kids who have like imaginary friends or whatnot, like eventually as they get older, people are like, yeah, that's weird. And then all of a sudden they don't have imaginary friends anymore.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. Who knows? It's kind of an interesting story.
Do you have that? I kind of wondered if it was just a me thing where like you occasionally feel uncomfortable laying on your side because you can hear your heartbeat.
Yes and no. Like, I think more for me, what makes me uncomfortable is like the white noise that builds up, and then like it just ends up being this really intense like ringing in the ears sometimes in like a super quiet room, which is why I always like to sleep with like a fan on and stuff.
I do think it's easier to sleep with at least some, like, you call it white noise, be it a fan or your vents are running, or you have a TV show on, or you have a sound player, something, right? Because if I'm left alone in pure silence, I get weird. So I have that issue, misophonia, where like noises will like irritate you and make you irrationally angry. And so like if it's raining outside and it's just stopped raining and I can hear like a drip, 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 like that drives me insane. Or if I'm laying on my side and I can hear my heartbeat in my ear, it drives me insane. Like I can't handle it. So like I can't handle these weird noises. And so that's why like when I had a neighbor next door that when they were talking at night, it drove me insane. It's just certain noises just make me upset. So I think that like, it's interesting to see other people's perspective on this, because like I cannot handle some of these things.
Yeah, like there are times like I'll hear stuff and it will like annoy me if I'm trying to sleep, but I can't say I've got like angry about it. If anything, like just the ring in the ears just irritates me, because like it makes me uncomfortable. It gives me like it triggers my anxiety. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, well, that's going to do it for us tonight, guys. If you have any stories you'd like to submit, you can do so via our email, which is scspookycast@gmail.com. We'll leave that in the description down below. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. And go check out some of our other stuff. Connor and Kale do a podcast, which is cool. And we've got some gaming videos that we do, so share those with your friends and family. Go pick up some merch. And other than that, we hope you have a safe and spooky night. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.